here at the studio is to connect with life in all its richness. And that richness comes to you also with the help of our esteemed guests who have embraced life in its entirety. And today I am privileged to welcome someone who has been generous in sharing his journey of life in the form of a book which is autobiographical in nature. There are many contributions for us from acclaimed architect Sudhir Jambhekar ji. But today I especially welcome him for his book that has been published in Gujarati and Marathi. And this is the story of an architect titled He Vishwanu Prangan in Marathi and
in Gujarati.
In Gujarati. And what else it says in Marathi, let's find out from him by welcoming Sudhir Jambhekar ji. Sudhir ji, swagat hai.
Swagat, thank you.
So let's go with the title of the book first. In Marathi it says?
Yeah. See, so I will speak in English as well as in Gujarati, Marathi.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. The Marathi book, the title of the Marathi book is He Vishwache Angana. As you correctly said, it is an autobiography of mine. And the purpose of the book, as I had mentioned verbally earlier, that it was essentially to help a younger generation and spread the word about architecture and see if we can influence how people look at life, you know.
So there are many firsts to Sudhirji's life, and I believe it is the first author who is also a fellow of the American Institute of Architecture, FIFA, which is a very prestigious fellowship given based on a significant contribution in the field of architecture. So FIFA, writing in Gujarati and Marathi and sharing all about his take on architecture and why he considers this is something that he loves to do. We'll talk about that. And just backtracking a little bit, without referring to book, was architecture something that you always had a passion for? Somebody influenced you?
Good question. When I was in high school in India, this is probably 1957-58 time, because I was born in Ahmedabad and I was raised in Ahmedabad by my parents. The famous French architect Le Corbusier was invited to India by first our late Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to design Chandigarh, and then many textile mill owners and the city of Ahmedabad invited him to design 4 buildings in Ahmedabad. So the architecture was in the media, so to say. It was being spoken and written about all the time in the media. And so as a young kid in the high school, I was wondering what this is all about, architecture was all about. And so it attracted me to the subject because I was always interested in arts. But so that's how it all began. And to complete the story, when I believe I was in 9th grade and I was operated, and one of those family friends was a doctor who came to see me. You know how people usually ask when you are a young kid that what do you want to do in the future? So I somehow unknowingly or knowingly said that I want to be an architect. And so the doctor asked me a question, do you know what architecture means? And to my embarrassment, I didn't know what it meant. So he explained to me. And so that's how it began, you know.
Wonderful. So we'll go back and forth. I want us to celebrate the accomplishments of Sudhir Jambhekar ji, and then we'll venture into some of the significant milestones of his life, as well as the steps that he has taken. So when I say we want to celebrate, we will look at some of the buildings which have come into being thanks to his vision. And quickly speaking, Sudhirji, it was at the age 35 that you decided to go for masters in architecture at Columbia University. That itself is something which appears a little unusual, because by 35 people are settled, and the will and the desire to pursue further studies may or may not be existing in most of the people. So if you can briefly share what led you to take up.
Of course, yeah. Few reasons for that. First, when I came to United States in 1969 as an immigrant, I had absolutely no resources of any kind, financial or otherwise. So I had no choice but to work for a number of years to save money to go to school, to go to do the higher education or master's program or whatever. So secondly, while I was working with the office of a very well-known American architect by the name of I.M. Pei, I realized that design was such an important aspect of the practice, and that there was no other way but to educate yourself to a higher level, that you could attain a higher grounds, and you could contribute in a bigger way. And so that began my point of inspiration. But because of lack of resources, I had no choice but to work for a number of years, save money, and then go to Columbia to do the master's.
So let me recollect two quick points. One, as a child, if you are exposed to something which is uplifting, which fires your imagination, that helps. So we should be careful for the next generation that we expose them to things which are inspiring. And somewhere I believe media also has a role to play in that direction, along with parents and friends and family members. And another thing is the passion for higher education, for learning, helps in growing. And so we jump to that stage when, after completing this master's in architecture from Columbia University, having worked somewhere at 50, at the age 50, it is very rare that you hear people start their own company. How that decision was taken?
Well, that's also a good question. I guess there are, the only way I can explain that is probably some people are late bloomers, and maybe I'm one of those late bloomers, that it happened that way for me. But it is not uncommon. Many architects, if you ask them independently as to when their careers began or begun, or most people will answer 40 to 45 is a good starting point for an architect. It does take a long time for an architect to be their own. There are, of course, exceptions. There are some amazing young architects who do absolutely amazing work. So for me, partially because I immigrated to this country, my education was delayed, so my whole aspirations were a bit delayed, but here we are. At the age of 50, I started my own practice, and then I merged my practice with a larger firm, which is the FX Fowle, and that was in year 2000. And
so share with us what led you to merge your company with this bigger one. And allow me to add, did this merger take away some of the creative freedom that you already were cherishing, being a man of your own, or it helped in further expanding your horizon?
I can answer one question at a time, yes. What happened was, when me and Mark Strauss, my partner, we started a company in, I believe, 1990, end of 93, 94, early part of 94, called Jambhekar Strauss Architects. Within 4 to 5 years, we grew fairly large. And we realized that the management and administrative aspects of the practice is a serious issue and serious business. And my interest was mostly in design, and my partner Mark Strauss' interest was mostly in the planning aspect. We both collectively decided that it would be beneficial if we both merge the practice with a larger practice which has a better infrastructure than we do. And so we made a decision to merge with some other large firm. And it so worked out that FX Fowle at that time was looking for they were trying to create their transition plans to next generation and so on and so forth. So they engaged in discussions with us and we merged the practice. That's the first part. Second part of your question is it's very simple. No, actually the other way around. My partners at FX Fowle were so generous with everything that I had plenty of not only opportunities but total freedom in terms of design and no restrictions on creative aspect of the practice. It was wonderful, yeah.
Absolutely. Sudhir, briefly name a few of the projects that has been your favorite and which has been a source of great satisfaction, and we'll share some of the images and maybe you can talk about these projects also.
Yeah, I think the way to answer that is my firm and my partners. They have done some amazing work, by the way, in New York and United States and even internationally. So
this building that we see with you right now on image.
This building was designed by me. This was in Tianjin, China, and this was a design for a 100-storied mixed-use building. Very interesting aspect of the building. Unfortunately, it did not get built.
Oh, is it? I see.
Yeah, because the clients for this particular building, they could not come to terms with the governmental agencies of Tianjin, and so they could not get the hold of land, and therefore the project. But the client, I mean, this is incredible. The client was absolutely incredible. When I went to meet him in Tianjin, and we were talking about it, he was in just total love with this building, and he actually said, "I want to show you the site." And so he took me to the site. He already had the design in front of him. He took me to the site, and there was a bridge crossing a little river or a little body of water. And literally in the middle of this bridge, he stops the traffic on both sides with cars, and in the middle, and he's sort of now talking to me about this site. I mean, I felt more important than the Prime Minister of the country, you know. And it was amazing, you know. So it was very fulfilling, and very interesting ideas emerged out of that building. Yeah.
So now, how that plays out in your mind if you work and create something and it's not finally executed? Does that take away something in you, or doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't. It does. It disappoints you, of course. But architects' life is like that. Many of the projects get built and many don't get built. It has to do with the economy, because economic cycles do affect our field very quickly. It's one of those professions where when the economy begins to go down, it's the first one to go down. And when the economy picks up, it's the last one to come up, because it's a huge investments, you know.
Absolutely. Let's look at a few more images from your projects. And this one?
This one was a design competition actually in Dubai. It was 100-storied residential buildings.
It got built?
Also, it didn't get built.
I see.
I hope you have chosen some projects which
Absolutely.
are built.
This one was built.
This
okay,
is built,
one,
yes.
Yeah. This is a mosque, I believe. Right?
Yeah, this is a mosque. Yeah. This is built already, and it's beautiful, by the way. Anyway, let's go back to the previous image, please. Yeah.
The previous one?
Yeah, this one, yeah.
Okay.
What I was telling was that this was a very interesting idea. It's a residential buildings. And, you know, in terms of environmental responsibilities, the buildings have to be environmentally very responsible, and those ideas come from passive nature of the responses versus technological responses. So I give you two simple ideas. One thing we did was the tallest building that you see there, which is 100-storied, the way we locate is that it would cast the shadow onto the shorter buildings.
I see.
And therefore automatically reduce the energy load. And then technologically what we did was we're going to put the screen on the outside, so the hot water was generated by the solar, natural solar heat.
Wonderful.
And yet no compromise in design or quality or aesthetics or any of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And then go to the next one now, the mosque or the masjid that you were showing. Yeah, this one. This is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's a very small mosque, by the way. The capacity is about 125 or 130 people.
I see.
And men and women, of course, prayer rooms for both. What is unique about this building, by the way, and which I'm very proud of, that Saudi Arabia, as you know, is viewed by most people as a very conservative nation.
Not just viewed.
And well, I mean, it is conservative in many ways. It is because, after all, the king of Saudi Arabia is the caretaker of the two important mosque, and including the Mecca and Medina both, and the two cities and all that. But having said that, this client knew that I was
Hindu?
not a Muslim by religion or by faith, and yet they put a huge trust and faith in me. I actually remember of even sort of expressing some concern, saying that, but I don't know much about Islam as a religion, and I don't know all the... And his attitude was, the client's attitude, client actually is a pension fund, so the director of the client, of the pension fund said, don't worry about it, we will help you. You're going to design this mosque. And we did. And it is a very contemporary expression, by the way. There is no dome, there is no nothing. Very simple mosque. But it does, I feel it does essentially is inspired by the essence of Islamic architecture from many traditions,
So you must have learned a lot while working on this project, as well as every project must be a special learning experience for you.
There is no question about it. Every project, by the way, not only you learn a lot, but you also are exposed to such wonderful people, the clients, the various engineers you work with, the team within which you work in the office, because none of these projects are small, by the way. So it's not a one-person job. It's a collaborative effort between so many people, and so many people are involved, and contractors are involved as well. The contractor for this is a huge company called SPG out of Saudi Arabia. Huge, enormous construction firm. So all of they are part of this team, and they all sort of buy into these ideas, and then they build it. In the process, not only you learn from each other, but you also begin to respect each other and the cultures and the religions and all of that. So it's amazing. It's very fulfilling.
So it's just a connected question. Thinking about a project demands a lot of creative flight, if I say, for designing a project. And then you have to keep in account different variables, whether you are building in America or China or some other country. So when you are going away from America, then there are some additional considerations which come into play related to the law of that land, maybe the climate where you are building this particular project. So does that is that burdensome, or it's enjoyable?
It's actually enjoyable. Actually, that's what makes the projects uniquely different from place to place. If you look at the work I've done over the last number of years, not one building looks the same as the other. It doesn't have even the commonality of architectural language, you know. And the reason for that is very simple. Different parts of the world have different cultural influences, and then different parts of the world have different climatic conditions. So we try to respond to the climatic conditions, we try to respond to cultural
and just take a look at what we have on the screen right now, this building.
This is a building, this is also built, by the way, almost built.
Okay.
This is an office building.
Where?
It's actually the same client for whom I did the mosque.
I see.
This, interestingly enough, by the way, this one single client, which is a pension fund in Riyadh, they gave me about 12 buildings to design, one after the other. I guess
Wow.
they must have liked what I did.
Absolutely.
I mean, so it was very interesting. It was amazing. This building is an office building and is built. What is interesting about this building is it was facing another residential building, so we came up with this facade ideas. And this facade is uniquely different, by the way, that what you see there is essentially a marble laminated on glass, by the way.
Wow.
And the idea of it was to basically create privacy for the residential buildings, at the same time create this building with a translucency during the daytime, internally during daytime, and externally at the night time. This is built, by the way. This particular facade was fabricated in near Barcelona, by the way, in Spain, and so it's wonderful. It's very fulfilling to see this building.
Absolutely amazing. And what is the most important project you would say for you that you executed here in New York, New Jersey area?
There are a lot of projects I've done. There is one project that I did at Lehman College in the Bronx. I'm very proud of that. It's a very small building, by the way. It's like about 2,000 square foot building. And when the Lehman College came to us and said that they wanted a gatehouse, but they wanted that building to be designed as the focal point or a communication center, we took that as a challenge, and it's beautiful. It's built. It's beautiful. It's small, but it's absolutely beautiful. The Lehman College just loves the building. And the other project that I can mention, which is very different, by the way, and I'm very proud of it as well, which is in New Jersey, by the way. There was a train station for the Hudson-Bergen light rail system that I did many years ago. It's built a long time ago. That system is, but the station is at the depth of 160 feet below ground, by the way. It's the Burgundy Avenue tunnel station. It still looks beautiful, and it still works very well. This is a station, by the way. This is not that station. This is a station for Green Line that we designed in Dubai, in connection with the bridge that I had designed there as well. Hopefully this will get built. If the bridge gets built, this will get built. I have a great faith in the younger generation. The younger generation has a tremendous energy. A younger generation, what I observe, actually know far more than when I was of their age, by the way. So I think I'm extremely optimistic that they are going to carry this world to a much, much higher level. I'm an optimist, by the way. So I have a great faith in the younger generation. By the way, not only here, but in India as well.
Wonderful. So optimism, creativity, willingness to learn more, and a sense of humility one finds sitting near Sudhir Jambhekar ji, an accomplished architect, and now I must say an accomplished author who has shared the wealth of his experiences in the form of Gujarati and Marathi autobiographical books. He Vishwanche Angan and
A Vishwanu Prangana.
so author of Avishwanu Prangan, my guest today, Sudhir Jambhekar ji. Thanks a lot for being with us. This is